G'day folks, welcome back to another episode of Euro Mining News. Today we're sitting in the Copperstone Resources Viscaria logging facility where Copperstone have been busy at work logging for the last 4 years since they acquired the Viscaria underground copper asset, building its resource base in preparation for restarting the mine. Today I'm sitting with the Chief Executive Officer of Copperstone Resources, Jorgen Olsson. Welcome to the show, Jorgen.
Thank you.
Good to have you here, mate. Now, before we get into the weeds of it, do you just want to give us a rundown of who Copperstone Resources are and what your intentions are in the future?
Copperstone actually have some 15 or 16 years as a small exploration company. And they basically only had an asset in Arvidsjaur, 350 kilometers south of here. But then they got the opportunity to acquire the Viscaria asset from an Australian exploration company, Sunstone. That was 2019. But since the Swedish Copperstone did not have any funding, they only acquired it by issuing own shares. So Sunstone became the largest shareholder in Copperstone. But then they lacked liquidity to do anything more. So nothing happened. So a year after the acquisition, Sunstone and the Swedish Copperstone came to me, because I'm just a banker. I'm not from this industry actually, because they needed funding and ideas how to put this forward. And I was intrigued by copper, having talked a lot about to the Lundin family, and I saw that there was a huge opportunity to do something within the copper market, because already at the 2020 it was quite obvious that we were running into a supply-demand gap in copper. So to make a long story short, there was no employees at that time, one or two maybe here, but since then we have invested a bit more than $100 million. We are today 35 full-time employees and maybe some as many full-time consultants. And you can see it's a quite huge amount of activity.
It's busy, yeah.
We have today 6 drill rigs out, and we drill around the clock 7 days a week. When I came in 2020, there were 52 million tons of copper-bearing rock here, and we are today at 93, 4 years later, and this resource will increase. It's a fantastic resource.
So you were talking about the Grand Viscaria project recently in a speech that you gave last week. Yeah. So you're expecting the resource to grow based on that?
Yeah, correct. So our exploitation concessions is only 2% of our whole exploration permit area. So we have really put up a huge defense system around us, because there is basically copper everywhere in this field here. So it's a super thrilling opportunity, and there are old drill cores outside our exploitation concessions with a significant amount of copper, which we disclosed in the quarterly report as well. Yeah. And we will now speed up that work to show the market the potential to grow this resource quite significantly.
Are you expecting, because you're going to be very busy increasing this resource, getting it up to measured and then into the reserve base, will you be able to drill out those further targets down at Arvidsjaur and Tvistbo and that as well, or will you be bringing in another?
So this year we will put in more effort in Arvidsjaur, not in Tvistbo, but in Arvidsjaur, because Arvidsjaur has the next large potential. Still, the main resources will be invested and executed here in Viscaria, because we are running towards a mine opening. And but we will put in effort, time and money and drilling in Arvidsjaur to show the market the potential down there as well.
Fantastic. So you've got quite a big resource sitting at Arvidsjaur. What is that? Just copper, or are you chasing other metals?
No, it's a polymetallic asset. So it's gold, copper, zinc mainly. And in the last resource upgrade of that we did in Eva, we made it a zinc equivalent, because then that was the largest metal with the today's metal prices. Then.
Well, zinc price has gone up.
Correct. So, but that could it could become a gold deposit, could become a copper deposit. It's polymetallic. Yeah. And we still need to drill more and do more research down there.
So to give viewers an overview of the copper market in Sweden and Scandinavia and Europe in general, was looking into the biggest copper producer, because everyone's heard of the Aitik mine, which owned by Boliden, just to compare your grades, basically. So you were saying you've got grades of around 0.88%,
Correct,
on average across the A, B, and D zones.
correct.
Aitik are mining down at kind of 0.15 to 0.2%, so there's quite a premium on top of that. And if we look at other operations like Garpenberg, it's only producing kind of like 3 million tonne concentrate per year. You've just been given environmental permit to produce 3.6 million per year. Was this in line with what you were chasing?
Yes, exactly. It's exactly according to the permit application.
Okay.
So with that and with the average grade, we can produce approximately 30,000 tons pure copper.
Yep.
Or 120,000 tons copper concentrate,
Yep.
with around 25% copper into it.
I understand Copperstone completed a capital raise last year.
Yeah.
They issued 250 million shares and got about 260 million Swedish krona in return for that. As of your last quarterly, you're sitting at cash and cash equivalents of 196 million.
Correct.
How long are you expecting this to last, and what are you planning on doing with that money?
No, so the money lasts until the end of the year, okay? But we sit on the gas and brake pedal ourselves. But we would like to pick up the speed. And since I came on board, we have continuously funded us on a regular basis. So it's not unexpected if we will continue with that strategy. All in all, we will fund ourselves with a bit more than around 5 billion Swedish, which we have communicated to the market, approximately 2 billion in equity and 3 billion in project financing or bank loan.
And that's for building your CapEx requirements and OpEx requirements to get this thing up and running?
Correct.
Okay. And when are you planning on having this mine running?
So we are planning to selling our first copper concentrate at the end of 2026.
All right, that's it's soon.
It's soon.
So I was just looking at another gold mine that's just recently opened, the first mine in many years in Sweden, Botnia Exploration, and I'm sure you guys are probably next in line to be opening the next mine in Sweden. Sweden seems to be having a bit of a mining renaissance, as it seems. How big is this that a new copper mine is starting in Sweden just right now?
I mean, it is big, and it's big not only for Sweden but for Europe, because we are importing more than 50% of all the copper that we are consuming in Europe. And we are importing from places that we really don't want to know how the production is actually, or mining is executed. Europe, the EU Parliament adopted 1 month ago the CRMA Act, and it's mandatory, applicable to all the member countries. And of course, Sweden needs to contribute to that act. And copper is part of the CRMA, and here we have a project that is just on the verge to start to produce copper. So it's a great importance for Sweden and for Europe.
Absolutely. And I understand you guys are right next to LKAB, which is the largest underground iron ore mining operation in Sweden.
In the world.
In the world, as far as underground, correct. So you guys are sitting just next door neighbours. What type of infrastructure have you got available for you?
No, we don't have any common infrastructure, but we have a fantastic infrastructure in being part of this mining city, because everything in Kiruna is about mining. Kiruna started as a mine, not as a city. So the mine became a city. There was nothing here 120 years ago. So it's a huge amount of skilled companies, people that have exactly the perfect skill sets to operate and run a mine. So it's from that perspective, it's fantastic. Our area, the mine area, is just adjacent to the iron ore line. So that's on the border to our area. So it's extremely infrastructure-wise is a fantastic location to just go out on the iron ore line.
Which direction are you planning on sending your ore? To Narvik or Luleå?
So next year we will connect ourselves to the iron ore line, I think week 25. and we have one switch to the south and one switch to the north.
Fantastic. So you've got options as far as okay. Very, very interesting. And copper processing charges are obviously at an all-time low at the moment as far as smelting charges. Will you be most likely sending it overseas or keeping it in-house?
So we have three huge smelter companies in Europe. Boliden with the smelt entity Rönnskär here in Sweden, but then we have the Polish public listed company KGHM, and we have the German public listed company Aurubis. Aurubis is Europe's largest smelter, and we are having discussions with all three of them. So we'll see.
Keeping it inside Europe. No, that's fantastic. You've just had your environmental permit issued, as we said. As part of that, there is a process where people can leave. What's the word? Complaints or
no, they can appeal.
Appeal.
Correct.
Yeah, you're better than English than I am. Thanks. No. Are you expecting any appeals? And also, what can you get started with straight away before appeals?
So with the verdict last week, we got also what is called an execution order that we can start already now, even if counterparts will appeal. And you can start activities at your own risk. And then you can start some specific activities that was phrased then in the verdict. Mm-hmm. And in our case, we can start to pump out the water from the mine if we can clean it, the water. So what we can do now immediately to build the water cleaning entity, and then start to pump out the water and through the water cleaning entity.
And you've got some new technology that you've produced in-house as well. Tell us a bit about that.
It's correct. It's together with a Finnish firm. So it's actually old existing techniques of sand filter, but also then combined with a deionization technique. So I am not the metallurgist to give the right description, but so first the water are processed in a traditional way by a sand filter inside a building, and then it goes into deionization filter that sucks out the metal jones of uranium, zinc, and copper. Mm-hmm. And we take away uranium, zinc, and copper with around 99%. So we're producing extremely clean water, and it's groundbreaking invention. This and first time in Sweden that is used to our knowledge. So it's a fantastic, thrilling thing.
And the pumping rates, are they going to be in line with what you were?
Correct. So we are allowed to pump up to 1,000 cubic meter per hour at the most.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
So Sunstone Metals produced a scoping study back in 2016. There hasn't been a pre-feasibility study, but you guys are so confident that you're jumping straight into the feasibility study as
I mean, we took the decision 4 years ago to jump into this. Okay, so we of course have updated our own internal scoping studies or internal studies, and we of course updated our own kind of pre-feasibility stage. But since we have never needed any report to the market to get funding, we have funded ourselves. We don't need to do pit stops as long as we can take internal decisions. Okay, so we are straight into the feasibility study, which we will need in order to leverage the financing to get lending from banks.
Yeah, absolutely. You need some hard figures.
But the other pit stops are a bit unnecessary if you have you funding yourself and you're certain that the resource will produce what you want it to produce.
Absolutely. And on the funding topic, you guys just listed on the Nasdaq main Stockholm market.
Correct.
End of last year. Is that also in terms of being able to produce or attract higher net worth investors and businesses?
It's institutional investors that you get. So we were listed on a smaller market before, First North, but now we're on the main market. And some institutions, the pension funds, etc., they have in their requirements that in order to invest in you need to be on the main list, because then you need to fulfill certain information standards, etc., but also internal governance, how you run the board and management So that was an important milestone to execute.
Absolutely, yeah. Congratulations on that. Just onto the ore body itself. I understand you're not a geologist, so give it your best crack. But have you encountered any metallurgical issues so far, or is the ore going to be going through as expected?
No, I mean, of course, I don't think that this resource differs from many other resources in the world, meaning that you have a lot of challenges, okay? And the copper is linked to magnetite, is linked to other rock types as well. So, of course, I mean, the metallurgists are conducting a huge amount of full lock cycle tests in order to see in the processing plant, in an efficient way, how much can we blend, how much do we need to run in campaigns and so on. And we want to have as little surprises as possible. That's why we invest so much money now beforehand in order to do all those tests. So when we are ramping up our commissioning, when we go into our commission period, we want that to be as smooth as possible. But again, a project like this will have a lot of challenges, and we are facing that as well, but none that stick out as specifically tough or hard.
As far as the mining, you've got 3 different lenses of ore as well. So yeah. You have got the open pit concession to be able to mine the A and B zone open
Correct.
Pit.
Yeah.
However, the D zone is going to be straight underground.
We took that back in their application before the hearing started.
The open pit.
Yeah, the open pit for the D, and it's also the case that this is a bit of a wetland there, so it's quite oxidized in the beginning. I mean, you have techniques to extract minerals from oxidized areas as well. Yeah. But it was a quite easy decision for us when we were discussing with the court that the advantages from an environmental perspective was so great, and with our mine design we saw that we did not need to go down in production if we just went underground instead.
Yeah.
So that was at the end a very easy decision to make just before the hearings started.
Fantastic. And so you've got cutoff grades as of the resource estimate that you brought out in 2022. Down at 0.25% for your A and B zones and 0.4% for your D zone. Are you expecting those to stay where they are as the copper price is on its way up? Or
no, of course not. I mean, we know that if the copper price goes up, I mean, you can mine
lower grades.
Yeah, low grades. So, but for the time being, we stick to that until. I mean, we have a high copper price already today, over $10,000 US dollar per ton. But you should not change your cutoff grades in your studies and so on up and down, because then you get dizzy in your head. So we stick to those cutoff grades. But of course, I mean, it looks really good.
Yes, fantastic. Just back onto the infrastructure. The old tailings dam, because this was obviously mined by LKAB and Outokumpu back in the 90s and 2000s.
83 to 96, actually. Yeah.
I'm glad you're with me. The tailings dam was actually, you've done some drilling in there and you've found some good copper grades.
Correct.
What copper grade are you sitting at, and are you planning on remining that?
Yes, we are planning on remining, but we're not calculating any value in the tailings dam yet, because to remine an old tailings dam, it sounds nice and good for the environment as well to do remining, but it's quite tricky to put into a fresh processing system a wet, oxidized mass, so to say. So. The least you have to do is to put it in piles and dry it and so on. So what we are doing now, we would build a new tailings dam above the old one, also not on top of, but
next to,
in order to save the tailings dam.
Yeah.
So we will do the whole commissioning just on fresh rock and so on, because then we have a stable commission. That's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we have all that running, we can do the tests with the old tailings dam. So we're not destroying that potential asset.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
we're not calculating with any value with that yet, because to have it's just with fresh minerals. To have minerals in the ground, to have the tailings dam is one thing, but to be able to process it is another thing. And you have to process it in a financially economical, defendable way. So we are humble there. We are starting off with the fresh rock, and then we'll see how we can handle the old tailings dam.
Absolutely, and that's good to hear that you're not chucking it on the balance sheet as well as an extra.
I am very conservative, and it's my own money, so I don't want to. All business is connected to a certain certain level of risk, but I'm too old to go out, way out on the limb and take chances.
I think one final question, and it was actually something I was going to ask, and you've just reminded me of it. I really like when a company does have skin in the game as far as a management point of view. So you're saying, is the board quite heavily invested in this?
Yes, they are, and I'm the second largest shareholder. Yeah, I'm really heavily invested. But there are a few others on the board members as well that are heavily invested. So there's a lot of skin in the game. Fantastic.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today, and that's going to be a wrap for the Copperstone from the logging facility here. Remember, everything today is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. He actually may be. But do not take this as financial advice, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.